mentors and even private clients figure out how to make more money. Does anybody here want to make more money? Okay. Some of you own businesses, you're making plenty of money, and that's awesome. And this will really help you. And a couple of distinctions, even people that have $400,000 or $500,000 businesses, there's really ways to just move your focus to create more money. A lot of the speakers and the new mentors, they don't really have cash flow yet, so you've got to kind of start from scratch of like, where is the money, where's the cash flow? One of the things with Steve is figuring out, hey, he's giving these speeches, how do you make money with it? So it's really good to give free speeches, and it's really good for your self-esteem, and it's fun, it makes you feel good. But after a while, your wife says, you've been gone for 6 hours, where's the money? Right? And so you get away from your kids, you get away from it. So at some point, you got to figure out what the money is. You had a wonderful question because you're like, hey, are you just giving free speeches? Like, what's the point of all this? And yes, the easiest way to get started is give free speeches, but they won't pay you. Okay? The ideal is to make $50,000 a lecture, fly in, do your 45 minutes, take a $50,000 check, and go home. The only people that do that I know of are best-selling authors, Olympic gold medalists, or ex-presidents. Raise your hand if you're one of those. Awesome. Great. So the rest of us, including me, with 7 books and all this stuff, we've got to go out and hustle. You've got to convince that I'm the better speaker, I'm going to create more value for your audience, and there's really 2 ways to do about the speaking. And so the speaking is just one product. So as we talk about today, I'm going to only talk about what your product or service is, because you have to make a transaction, and then for that product or service, you got to figure out where the money is. And so if you're speaking, Steve says I'm a speaker, so to the buyer, so Brian, you run the Kiwanis Club, you're the buyer. I have to sell one person on letting me have stage time. That's easy. It's one person. It's easy to sell one person, especially when there's, what's going to cost me, Brian? Nothing. I'll do it for free. That's easy. Or I'll pay for my gas, okay? Or it's $500. So if you're in the college speaking market, it's $1,500 is the average price, $1,500 to $2,000, and those people have budgets. The UCLA has like a $6 million budget for speakers and entertainment every year, and you know who's running it? A 21-year-old kid that gets elected every year on the council. It says, hey, here's our budget. Do we get a rock band? So there's a lot of money out there to pay for speakers if you're positioned that way, okay? Many of you will end up being there. We have a lot of people that do that. Jamie Cohen is one of our mentor members. He's just got a book. He used to work at Saturday Night Live. He's on that speaking circuit because he's a teacher. It took him about 2 years to get there. So part of today's lecture is both where your money map is, and then also a little bit about how you coach people. One of the reasons people will pay you to be their mentor and help them even learn handwriting is they want a change in their life. There's a lot of people with great jobs that they're not happy with. I mean, Pradeep asked you earlier, Nitin, how many people know anybody who's, has a job, but they're not emotionally fulfilled? So a lot of people, especially in their 30s and 40s, like, hey man, I got a law degree, I went to school, but I'm not happy. And so how do you navigate that? And one thing I've really found is if you can figure out how to align their values with a revenue stream or a business model that matches their values, they'll be very, very happy. So a lot of people found that coaching and consulting really resonates with their values because they're helping people, they're connecting with them, but they don't make money. Most people, that's not fair to say most people, a lot of people do the coaching certificates, they struggle, International Coaching Federation, because they learn the skill set, but they don't learn the marketing. So most of what I've done in the last couple of years is I've just been teaching marketing. We've got, 24 months of marketing mastermind recordings and deep dives into books and online publishing. And so I'm going to go through some of the philosophies. For those of you that already own businesses, the first couple of slides may be a little bit basic for you, but this may be good for your kids and some of your clients. On page 134, the question is, do you trade time for money? So if you're currently in a job that you actually get time for money, raise your hands. Okay? And that's about half of us, okay? Now, some of you don't trade time for money, but let's say that you work a salary job. Okay, so even if you make like $300,000 a year on salary, is there an opportunity for you to make a big bonus? Most of the CEOs of companies make, $100,000 a year or $1 a year, and where do they make their money? Stock options, bonuses, right? They're based on performance. And so when you hear these CEOs of the president of Wells Fargo was being grilled by the senator recently, and she goes, you made $36 million. Did you give any of that back? What do you mean? Well, we're working on it. We're having an investigation. Did you give any of your money back? No. You just committed all these crimes because that's his bonus. He's on a little salary and a big bonus based on profit. So the major shift that you want to help your clients get from an hourly employee or an hourly mentality to an entrepreneur mentality is stop trading time for money. Okay? We all trade time for money. I'm here over the 3-day weekend, but I can make $1, I can make $0, I can make a lot of money. It all depends on everything else. So it's not like, here's $6 an hour, come do that. So at some point, you do have to think about, your time for money. So at the end of the month, you'll go, okay, how much time do I spend working? How much time do I spend with my family? How much time do I spend that? And you'll calculate it. So let's take a look at that. So on page 135, this is sort of a little graph you can take yourself through. And if you want to do it, I'm not going to ask you to reveal your questions, but how many hours a month do you have to work? Does anybody know that? Some people work 40 hours a week times 3. That's 160 hours, right? If you do an 8-hour day. Minus lunch and travel time, so write down 160. Now, I work for blank customers for blank amount of money. How many customers? Who's Misty? You have a mortgage brokering firm, right? Yes. How many customers does your team have every month? Like 100 or 12 or 800? Those are house buyers, right? That's your customers?
Yeah, we have 25 this month.
25 house buyers this month. Awesome. And if you have 25 house buyers, your company might make $80,000. I'm just making this up, right? So if you had 50 house buyers, would you make $160,000? Would you double that? Yes. Awesome. So she's a business owner. She's like, okay, this is how many customers I have. I know if I this amount in the average. And the average price in your house is what, $300,000 for an average price?
Yeah.
And you get $200,000, and you get 1% of that because you're a mortgage broker, right? Is that correct? More than 1%. And by the way, I don't know if you knew this, but I actually interned at a mortgage brokerage firm when I was 19. It was commercial. It was commercial. It was Beverly Hills. I was 19, and I drove to Beverly Hills, and they were doing like, $15 million, businesses, and that was just boggling to me. Like, you get 1%, 1.5% just for connecting a buyer and a bank? It's so confusing, right? So there's all kinds of great business out there. And so I don't know what you sell, your service, everything else, but it's really great because she's not getting paid by the hour at all. She's getting paid by the solution. So you solve a huge problem for people. They need a loan, you find it, you get the best interest rate, and boom, your people get paid. Awesome, okay? So I'll get wealthy by saving big percentage of my income and retire happy. How many have heard this? You'll get wealthy by saving 10% of your income? Is it true? Pretty hard to pull that off these days. I think in the 40s, when everybody had this and the Japanese economy, and you just go to work and you have the same employer, the average employee doesn't stay more than 5 years these days, even the great employees. So the idea of working for the same company is a very archaic idea. So people that think that they're going to get wealthy by saving percent of their income are definitely thinking like an employee. And by the way, I'm not saying it's bad to save. You should absolutely save, and you never know what's going to happen. But the idea of thinking like an entrepreneur is not just saving money and then you're going to be happy one day. When does that day come?
Maybe
Most people, and my mom and dad, I mean, their friends are dying. Their friends they save their money, they put their kids through school, and now they can't walk up a hill to go see Kathmandu. It's really sad. So part of the reason I'm doing a life design program is I want people to be happy now. I want to figure out how to go vacation now. How can you create a business by coming to America and having an adventure and then also speak? Like, how can you tie these together? So if you guys follow my Facebook, I'm always in Kathmandu or India. Those are all business things, but I intentionally invest money and time around those to have a life of adventure. I fit in making a movie twice a year just for fun. I mean, it's something on my to-do list. So I want you to go through your bucket list and what do I do and how do I do that? If you're in a job that traps you for 6 days a week in that hometown, you may never travel. So that's all what life design is. What do you really want? What's important? What are your values? And then figure out some kind of career that can make that happen. If you're in that career now, that's perfect. And then if you're not, how do you supplement that? And the first thing you do is get out of that brain thinking of hourly, okay? Then I'll go on blank, spend time with my blank, and buy that blank I've always wanted. What would that be? Then I'll go on vacation, right? And then I'll spend time with my family, which is now gone, and they've got their own family if you wait till you're 60. And you'll buy that blank you've always wanted. Brian, what is that blank? Motorcycle, car, house? Can you be more specific?
A car, house.
A Winnebago, I've always wanted that.
Yacht.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, you could probably get most of that today if you're willing to take out a small loan at a low interest rate. But people don't think that, like, oh, one day I'll have that, one day I'll have that. So here's the entrepreneur mindset. I allocate blank hours a month to work. So most entrepreneurs say, okay, I like working, it's fun. I'm gonna allocate this amount of time. So it's just work. Like, so I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna spend time with my family. Some will work 5 or 6 hours a day. So they just think this is the block. Or they work for 1 week straight, day and night, and then they take some time off. Okay? So you're still trading time for money, but it's not an exact value. You're just allocating. I work for blank customers for blank amount of money. So this is the key. So how many customers do you want? I consult with a lot of authors, and they're the belief that if they get a best-selling book, they're going to be rich and famous. Does anybody, that sounds familiar, right? Has anybody here written a book? Raise your hand if you've written a book. 1, 2, 3, awesome. So did you get rich and famous, Abdullah? No. Tammy, did you get rich and famous? What happened? What's the deal? So, of course, yeah. So yeah, most people don't know this, but you know, if you sell 500 books in 1 month, you could probably be an Amazon bestseller. For the New York Times bestseller list, you can sell 11,000 copies in 1 month and probably make the bestseller list. That's the bestseller in America, New York Times bestseller list. You know, if you went with the New York Publishing Company, how much you would make off of 10,000 books on the New York bestseller list? It's 5% is your royalty. So if they sell it for $10 on Amazon, you make 50 cents. 50 cents times 10,000. You made $5,000 this month, Tammy, and you're a New York bestseller. And that's going to last a couple months, so you've got $20,000, and you're one of a million that did that. Congratulations. What are you going to do to spend the money? Yeah. So the book thing, which is interesting because a lot of people say, I really want to write a book, and I think writing a book is great. I want all my mentors to write a book. I want you all to get to the level of trainer status. I want you to co-author. I want you to say, Bart, I love this article on stingers. Can I expand it and put your name on it? Absolutely. I want you to do that because that's a great lead generation. Because people read books and they get interested. How many here came here because they first read a book or an article or free report or something for free under 10 bucks? Okay? You're not all raising your hand, but most people, unless you're a guest, came for something inexpensive. I'm click, I'm interested, and it's a relationship process. It's a relationship building process. So the thing that I want to put is that I'll work for blank customers for blank amount of money. If you work for 10,000 customers for 50 cents, you've got to spend a lot of money to get 10,000 customers, right? So if you're selling books. And that's what I think a lot of authors don't understand is you could work for 3 customers for 10,000 a month and have 30,000 a month income. Or you could work and get 30,000 customers a month for $1. Which is easier, finding 3 customers or 30,000? 3 customers. Okay, and this is the big shift that I really want to share with you, is if you don't have a product or service with a high-ticket item, which is over $1,000 in the US, it's very difficult to ever cross that sort of I'm in business mode. So the mortgage business, the average paycheck from your customer is over $1,000, right? A lot more. Yeah. And because of that, she can afford a staff, a team, mortgage brokers, right? But if you made $10 a customer, you can't make it, right? You can't build the business, you can't pay your overhead, it's just too much. So she's found a business, and a lot of people have found businesses. The average, even chiropractic, the average is $1,200 or $1,500, right? If they came in for one adjustment, could you ever afford to run ads, Henny? No, you got to have that back in. So your question was so right on point. You're like, Steve, why would you give free lectures? Is it all about the upsell? Yeah, it's all about opening a relationship, letting them know who you are, because no one knows who you are until they meet you or they see an ad, and then starting a relationship. And it's also rare to start a relationship at $10,000, okay? That's like going on a date and saying, hi, Kelly, let's get married today. Oh, you don't know my last name? Don't worry about it. Just marry me, okay? There's a process for relationship building, and anytime you build a business, that is the process. So really, you have to think about what product can I sell that's $1,500, $2,000, $2,700, $10,000 to every group. And in every group, there's somebody in there with the gold or platinum card in their pocket looking for someone that cares. It's true. I mean, I've got so many friends in the speaking business, and I know people that charge $50,000 a year just for coaching. And not that Tony Robbins, I mean, Tony Robbins is great, he's Tony Robbins, but people that you've never heard of, $30,000, $50,000 a year just to get access to them. Now, why would they pay that? Because that person has some specialized knowledge that no one else on the planet has, or they perceive that very few people have, and they get access to that person. And by the way, it's a pretty good exchange of value. And most of those people that come through those programs get what they need, they get that coaching, they end up doing what they want. And usually it's a business. I'll give you 15 grand, and then you help me become a better speaker, and then you put me on stage. It's a couple of business models I know. So if that number shocks you, I just want to point out to you that that's pretty common in the world, that there are people that flowing that kind of cash flow. And so entrepreneurs, you want to think about what I can do. So if I'm going to charge you $20,000 for coaching, Brian, do you care how many hours I spend with you? It's not really, you're not thinking, I'm going to get 23 hours of parts time. By the way, there's no pitch for $20,000. But what you would do is say, what benefit I'm going to get. If I say, Brian, I can get you on CNN, I can get you a webinar that makes $10,000 a month, and I can get you on all stages across the world, 20 grand. That's interesting, right? Because I'm just promising a benefit. And of course, you have to deliver that. So it's not about my time, it's about the benefit. And that's the frame. So when Steve's talking about speeches, he's really saying, hey, here's an audience full of people who's interested. If he sells a grapho deck, they never call back. If he sells a live analysis, and what you didn't say, Steve, and I want to point out, he's selling, hey, I want live analysis for 40 or 50 bucks. He's still not making money with 40 or 50 bucks. It's about, is this person someone who wants to move on into a relationship with me, coaching relationship, certification course, business consulting. These are the people. So you've got to have that time. And so until you get to the skill level where you've got 4 or 5 books, or you can do a webinar where it's totally automated, you have to have these one-on-one conversations, and that's the easiest way to move someone higher. Misty, with your homeowners, do they have to have a one-on-one conversation before they sign the contract, or will they just go online and fill out a form? The loan part. But, so do you work with loan brokers, or do you work with real estate agents, right?
Yes, I work with real estate agents.
So real estate agents bring you the customers, essentially. Yeah. And those customers, you have to meet with them, and then you develop a relationship with them, and then it's an ongoing flow, right? So what she's had the relationship building, now they just send you money. They send you contracts.
Damn near, yeah.
Yeah, damn near, she says. Love that. I give you a good business, okay? Now, when you need more money, I will go blank to another person. Here's what an entrepreneur thinks. When I need more money, I'll go sell something to another person. I'll go find a new customer. If you're a school teacher, how do you make more money? You're going to go teach another student? Yeah, that's the only option. I got to get a part-time job. I've already sold 45 hours a week. I have to get a part-time job. Like, the mentality is so tough. I'm going to sell more hours. Well, how many hours do you have in a day? It's really limiting, right? And honestly, even if you have an abundant energy, you can't work more than 12, 15 hours a day, or your family and your health, all that just goes to crap. So even our neurosurgeon over here, she's a nurse and a brain surgeon. Your surgeons charge $100,000 for a surgery, right? So these neurosurgeons make insane amount of money per hour, but they're so rare in their field, right? So they could literally just get 4 surgeries instead of 5 and make a whole bunch of money, okay? Most people don't make $80,000 an hour to do what they do. One of my consulting clients is a plastic surgeon, and he said, Bart, he goes, I make $1,200 a minute doing nose jobs, you know? He goes, this is all great, but can you just find someone to go build this system for me so I can get more people in my office? I said, yeah, I can help you with that. But he sure didn't want to learn how to do it. He's like, I make $1,200 a minute. Like, he knows his value. Like, he knows. Yeah, I knows my, but that's great. And I'm not trying to convince him not to make per minute, but he's saying, give me $15,000, Brian, I'll make you beautiful. So he's selling an outcome. I saw the best frame ever in Guitar Center. Is anyone here a musician? So there's a company called Guitar Center. And I don't know who created the slogan, but do you know what the door of Guitar Center says? There's a slogan under Guitar Center. And it says, we sell blank. Does anybody know what it is? So what do you think Guitar Center sells? That would be logical, right? Dreams is close. So their slogan is, we sell the best feeling on earth. And if you haven't been to a Guitar Center, you need to go in there and just hang out. What you see is musicians just sitting around, and they're all playing music and drums, and they're just kind of like a Starbucks. They just hang out. and they play. And it's not about guitars, or it's about emotion. So they sell the emotion of that. So it's amazing framing. And of all the different, you can buy a guitar on eBay, you can buy it anywhere. But people go there because that company knows they're selling the emotion. Does it make sense? They're selling the feeling. And I just love that framework. So I get paid on results, not time. So if you're in any business that you're getting paid on your time, not results, you have to find a new business. You have to find a new business. And this is something you can really coach people. A lot of your clients will be people in dead-end jobs. They're struggling. They need to get this framework that they got to stop selling their time and to sell results. Okay?